Thank you. That's our reporter Ben Phillip.
Now, we were hearing earlier that a third of 29-year-olds are not fully vaccinated. What about this for a unique approach to the issue? People in the Canadian province of Quebec will have to be vaccinated if they want to buy alcohol. It's the latest measure brought in there to help boost the take-up of the JAG. Out of a population of more than 8 million, 85% have received at least one dose, but more than 12,000 people have died after testing positive for COVID. Aaron Derfel is a health reporter from the Montreal Gazette and joins us. Aaron, how are these latest measures going to encourage vaccination, do you think?
Well, that's a great question because the government in Quebec had tried this carrot and stick approach. Initially, a lottery had been held over the summer to persuade some holdouts to get their shots, and that helped somewhat. But there are still roughly 650 adults who haven't gotten their shots. So now the government has switched to the stick. And in the coming days, the province has its own monopoly on the liquor stores. So if you want to buy your booze, you're going to have to show a vaccine passport, using your smartphone at the doorway to gain entrance to a liquor store. And so, reason had failed, incentives had failed, but it seems that this time the prospect of being denied perhaps scotch is persuading some people to get their shots, and we've noticed that in the last few days that there has been this uptick in people getting their first shots.
Oh wow, perhaps it is working. Has there been much criticism of it?
I don't think there's been that much criticism of the vaccine passport requirement to buy liquor, but more so the government is planning to introduce this anti-vax tax, and that has some people up in arms. The idea that they think that's punitive and it'll marginalize people on low incomes. The context here is Premier's under great pressure. It's an election year, and the deaths in Quebec are far outpacing the deaths in other provinces.
So has there been some criticism of how the authorities have handled the pandemic so far, and maybe that's the reason for this apparently quite heavy-handed approach?
Precisely. So, the government had been criticized for not taking Omicron seriously enough earlier on. Questions arose regarding the third dose. Perhaps the government should have administered that dose earlier to the elderly, to shut-ins who are in their apartments, and the government had been slow to provide rapid tests. So there's this criticism that the government really it should have seen this latest wave coming, and it didn't.
And just bring us up to date, Aaron, with what the situation is with you with COVID restrictions there, and is there still an appetite amongst people, to keep measures in place?
There's a lot of frustration and anger. Quebec was the only jurisdiction in North America and one of the few around the world to impose a nightly curfew. And this was very unpopular. The Premier's poll numbers had dropped by something like 10%. So on Monday, the government lifted that curfew. But there's still many others in place. You can't, I believe, eat in a restaurant still, and you can't go to a movie. So 2 years into this pandemic, people are just absolutely fed up.
Interesting. Aaron, good to hear from you. Thanks very much for joining us. Aaron Derfel, reporter from the